Welcome to the Body, Mind, Spirit Show with me, your host, Coach Rita Hurry. Hey everyone, welcome to the Body, Mind, Spirit Show with myself, Coach Rita. I've got a great show today because I have a special guest. Her name is Arti Joshi, and she is a fearless dating coach. Arti, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Rita. I really appreciate being here today.
It's a pleasure having you. So I want to know, what is this fearless dating all about?
So fearless dating is about dating on your terms. It's about, contrary to the title, it's not about being completely sort of free of fear. You know, this is about, I think, what fearlessness means to me. And this journey was very much born out of my own personal experience. I was very, very anxious about dating. I was very scared about the prospect of dating. And I actually didn't start dating until I was around 32 years old. My sort of dating life started, well, I wouldn't even say it was a dating life, really. I say my sort of intimate relationship started when I was around 19, but I had a 4-year relationship there, and then I was very, very single. And when I say very single, I was very good at being single.
I know that.
In that time, right? And then I had started another relationship when I was around 25, 26 years old, again, around 4 years. But again, this one was born out of friendship because we worked together. The first relationship was born out of friendship because we were at uni together. So I never had to do the dating thing. I had already felt safe and comfortable around these guys because of our friendship, you know, the shared sort of friendship groups. So that felt good for me. But what happened when that second relationship came to an end after the 4 years, it was a complete shock and heartbreak to me because I felt that, you know, we were pretty much set for life. You know, I was dreaming up plans of our future together. And it felt very much like the rug was pulled from under me. And as I was sort of reeling from that heartbreak, inside of that space, feelings started to rise up to the surface, realizations started to rise up to the surface that I want this, like I want to be in another relationship. You know, at that point I really wanted to be in a relationship with him. But I had a taste for something so beautiful, so beautifully connected and loving that it had really opened up my eyes and my heart. And I wanted more of that in my life. And I realized that I wouldn't be able to have that opportunity again if I was not willing to go out into the world and date. And that felt so incredibly scary to me because the reason why I didn't want to date was because I had a really fractured relationship with my body from a very, very, very young age, from sort of 5 upwards, when my puppy fat started to drop off. You know, I'm naturally a very skinny person. And I had consistently heard this message of there's something wrong with the way that you look or the way that you are, whether that was the people closest to me or random strangers, you know, and that was a consistent message that just was sort of driven through my life. And so I walked around thinking, okay, well, if everyone else thinks there's something wrong with me, then there really must be something wrong with me. And so that just kind of almost seeped out of my pores, you know, of like, okay, I'm not happy in my body. There is something wrong with me. That was the message that was screamed out to sort of every man, every person within 100-mile radius of me, right? And so the last thing I wanted to do was start dating men who I found attractive, and then have them, you know, be close, intimate towards me, and for them to say, hey, actually, I don't find you attractive. I don't want this. I don't find you attractive. That to me just felt like an insane form of torture. Why would I put myself through that? If people that, when I haven't even asked for that kind of feedback from people, they've given it to me. So why would I then put myself when almost like my heart is a bit more on the line because I'm attracted to this person, right? It goes to that more tender
that
place.
vulnerability, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so why would I put myself willingly through that? And so I kept dating at arm's length for a very, very long time. But I realized that I wanted something as well. And the way that I always think about it is I used to look at people who were dating out there, friends, family, people that I didn't know, out there dating, having a great time. And I used to wonder how they did it. Like, how did they get in and out of relationships? How did they go on dates with people that they've just met? It felt very much like they all had access to a club that I didn't. You know, I felt very much like I was peering through the windows, a bit like a little Match Girl style, right? Of
just out, looking in,
Yes, exactly. Looking in, everyone in there is having a great time. They know what to do. How did they do it? How did they do it?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, okay, well, two things have to happen here for me. I need to start really doing the deep work with my body, healing my relationship with my body, which had started, but I needed to really ramp things up there. And secondly, I couldn't wait until that was quote unquote fixed and then to start dating. These things had to happen in parallel. And so I started to go out into the world dating. I went online, I went to events, I discovered, matchmakers. I actually started working for a dating events company as well, which gave me a real insight into the world, right? Yes, absolutely. I started doing, coaching work and everything. And it was through that I really started to face dating head on. And it was challenging, but it was also exhilarating as well. I remember before going on dates or to events and stuff, really having this moment of questioning myself of, do I actually want to go? How are people going to look at me? What are they going to say? Things like that. I remember there would be so many times where I'd pace around the room wearing something that I'd really, really, really want to wear before I'm about to go on a date and think, oh, well, what is this guy going to think of me? Because he's only seen me at a dark event. But now we're going to meet for an afternoon coffee, and what's he going to think of when he really sees me? And the fearlessness, if we go back to what fearless dating is all about, is that choice point, right? Now, I am freaking scared right now.
But you're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm so scared right now of the consequences of me going out on this date or going to this event. But fear, I am still going to go out. Like, there is this choice that I could just be like, nah, do you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay at home. I'm going to take this dress off and I'm going to slip back into my pajamas. Right? Or I walk through the door, I go on this date and I create some kind of result, some kind of forward momentum, as opposed to the result being regret that I just slipped back into an old habit or I let fear take over. So fearlessness to me is not about the absence of fear. Fearlessness is recognizing its presence and choosing to act anyway.
Yeah. Do you think what kept you motivated was the fact that you really did want to meet that someone special and settling down? Was that kind of at your forefront? It's like, no, I want that, almost that happy ending for me, and therefore I have to do this because it's something I really want. Did that keep you going?
It's interesting that you say that, because I've been reflecting on the journey a lot, and of course naturally through the work that I do. And actually I found that when my fearless dating journey started, that started to shift. That actually the emphasis then wasn't on, I really want to be in a beautiful relationship or loving long-term relationship. Actually, I just want to have a dating experience. I actually want to just be able to go out into the world and just have fun and be able to just create whatever it is that I want to create in that moment. And so my fearless dating journey then became about just learning how to date, having a great time, and removing any of that pressure of, I really want to create this thing long term or anything like that. It was so much about being just good at dating for me. And that felt great, that actually I could just do it and there were no big heavy outcomes attached to it. My happy ending actually was being able to go on a date and have a really great time. For example, I went on a date with this guy one night, and it was our first date. We had met at a dating event a couple of weeks prior, I think. And we were having, a good time. I knew that this actually wasn't a guy that I would want to continue seeing, but we were enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
And we were playing this game, 36 Questions to Fall in Love.
Okay.
And we were going through these questions, and it was his turn to share with me 5 things that he really likes about me. And the second thing that he said was, I love the fact that, is it okay for me to swear? I'll beep it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't give a beep. That kind of attitude. You've got a real, I don't give a beep what anyone else thinks about me. Like, I just show up in the world, and I'm doing my own thing. And he goes, that's really great. Like, you are so confident and comfortable in your own skin. And that's so great to see, because you don't see that often. And I remember thinking in that moment, wow, like that he sees that, on a first date.
Yeah.
And it was such a kind of like hallelujah moment, right? Like the heavens had opened up on me. Right? Because I was like, he said, I'm so confident and comfortable in my own skin. I don't give a what anyone else thinks. And for someone to say that to me after having 30 plus years of being the complete opposite, that was miraculous. Nothing short of miraculous for me. That was my happy ending in that moment, to be recognized in that way, that someone was able to say to me, I see you. And the great thing was, on that date, I wasn't being some false persona. I was being someone that I had worked hard to become. I worked real hard to become, and it felt like the real me had emerged, and he was seeing that, he was receiving that, and that to me was just icing on the cake.
Yeah, because it sounds to me like this journey was almost created for you to find your true voice, yourself, and to love yourself in spite of what you've gone through, in spite of other people's judgments, to not hide yourself, to be you. And that's what I find so beautiful in what you've just said in your journey, is because you found the love of your life, which is you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said that, many times before, that one of the beautiful things about the fearless dating journey is not that you get to meet great people along the way. That's definitely a bonus. But first and foremost, you get to meet your beautiful self. You get to become your own best friend, you become your own lover, you become your own confidant, whatever it is that you're looking for in a date or a partner, you get to discover that in yourself along the way. And that to me is priceless.
Yeah. So in terms of dating, a lot of women, they feel that they have to put on this, this kind of act, I have to be this way and laugh in the right places. How important is it to just be yourself? I mean, I guess I know the answer to this already, but for those that struggle to do that, can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, so it's funny, actually, I did a video about this a few weeks ago on social media, where actually I really dispute the be yourself advice, because I feel it's not helpful to people in a similar circumstance to myself, right, where dating is not an area where they naturally feel comfortable, where they're creating amazing results, and often this advice of be yourself comes from people where actually it is an area that they're confident in, and it's not of service to someone to say, well, just be yourself, they'll love you just the way that you are, because well, what if you're not enjoying yourself just the way that you are? Or what if you're not enjoying the way you are around other people? What if being yourself, you've been doing that, but it's not been creating the results that you really, really are hoping for? So for me, it's about, well, and anyone that is struggling with dating is to think about, well, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be and who do I want to become as I date? And I always relate it back to the shopping analogy, right? Of imagine that you are going to your favorite clothes shop, right? The agreement between you and the shop owner is that you can try on as many outfits as you want, right? And there's no obligation for you to buy them.
Yeah.
So you go through this clothes shop and you go to your old faithfuls, you know, your white t-shirt and your blue jeans. That's the thing that you're most comfortable in, and it's just you. You've just been wearing that for as long as you can remember, and you just, out of force of habit, you pick those up. So blue jeans and white t-shirt. Then out of the corner of your eye, this really jazzy outfit catches your attention, and you're just like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I like that. It's so not me, but there's something about it that I really, really like. And you know what? I'm going to give that a go. So you tentatively pick that up and you take that into the changing rooms with you. And so in the changing rooms, you put that blue pair of jeans on and you're like, oh, this fit perfectly. I love the way that I look in them. Yes, I've got 10 pairs of them already, but hey, you know what? I can always do with another because I love them so much.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to keep them. You put the white t-shirt on and you're just like, I don't like this anymore. Like, this isn't me. This is me of 6 months ago. This is me of 5 years ago, but I'm a bit done with this look. I don't want this anymore. I want something different. So you put that to one side, knowing that you're not going to buy that. And then the jazzy outfit is there, just like twinkling away, like maybe it's got loads of sequins or it's a crazy color and pattern, whatever it is. And you still are so tentative when you put this outfit on, and you put it on and you're just like, whoa, like, I don't know how I feel about this, because it feels really good and fun, but also it's so not me. I feel quite foreign in it. Like, I feel like people might make comments about the way that I look, and I don't know if they'll be good comments or bad comments. I feel like I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb with this outfit on, but do you know what? Something about it feels really, really good. And I'm going to play with that. And I'm going to experiment with it. And hey, do you know what? If 6 months from now I'm just not feeling it, I'll donate it to a charity shop. I'll give it to a friend. I might repurpose it and change it into something else that's a bit more what I want. But I am going to give this a go because it's new to me, but it feels good. And I like the idea of who I can be in that outfit. And so you take that jazzy outfit and you take your old faithful blue pair of jeans and you take them to the counter and you buy them, right? And that's what I feel being yourself is all about. It's about this discovery of, who do I want to be? What do I appreciate about myself already that I want to continue being? And who do I want to become? And am I willing to experiment with that? And if we have that mindset as we date, then we start to find this space where it's like we start to experiment a bit more. We start to have a bit more fun. Our dating life actually becomes way more rewarding because it's not about the other person. It's not about how are they going to perceive me? Are they going to like this? But this is your own discovery. When you're dating, it's just about it's just as much about you dating yourself as it is about that person.
Definitely.
You're not, as you date, I always say to my clients, you're not just dating them. You know, you're not just discovering things out about them. You're discovering them about yourself in connection with the people that you're meeting along the way. And this is part and parcel of that journey. So if we keep piling these false personas on of like, oh, I've got to laugh here, I've got to toss my hair here, I've got to, we don't get to engage with that discovery of ourselves or that other person, because this is the other thing. If you are so occupied with being a certain type of person as you're on this date, you're not present. You're not present to yourself, and you're not present to the person that you're on a date with, which that person will feel. But also, more importantly, you'll miss the cues and the clues that they're dropping about whether they are a good date or potential partner.
Yeah, exactly. What I love about your example with the shopping as well, it shows how also the other factor that we have is we have an idea of who the potential partner should be, what they should be wearing or what they look like. You know, sometimes we go with that image, especially if we've had past relationships. Say if we've always been someone who goes for looks, and then it's like, okay, they've got to have that certain look, otherwise I'm not interested. But I think it also, like you said, you know, you're finding the different side to you, you're exploring the different side to you, which may be attracted to a completely different type of person, and being open to that. Have you found, I mean, in terms with your clients, obviously I know you can't say too much about your clients' journeys, but have you found that as people have started to become more confident, that their intentions that they started with initially have actually changed, and they've become more open to new possibilities in terms of people they're dating or, you know, experiences they're having?
Definitely. I find that people are more patient with perhaps the people that they wouldn't have given much of a chance to initially for whatever reason, right? And less patient with the people that they know are not a good fit, you know, that perhaps are going to waste their time or just too slow in communicating or arranging a date or whatever it may be. What I witness is that the bar gets raised, you know, the standards then become a lot higher for what you're looking to create in your life, how you're looking to get there, and what you're willing to actually, you know, say yes and no to. That standard gets raised because, you know, I talk about it a lot when I'm coaching my clients, or if I'm running a workshop or something, that for whatever reason, dating is the one area of our lives that the standards just drop. We accept far less in that area of our lives than we would in perhaps with our finances or our health or our career or friendships or family relationships. You know, it's okay for people to say things to us that we wouldn't normally put up with, or you know, be really flaky, and it's okay because I'm dating, it's part and parcel of it. No, you know, bring the same level of standards that you would to any other area of your life that you truly care about and you're dedicated to. That's when you then become more open to potential possibilities that you wouldn't have considered before, and you close the doors to the ones that actually, you know, aren't going to serve you ultimately.
Yeah. And I guess it's also similar to if we look at the whole law of attraction ethos as well, that you start to attract those that if you've set your, you know, almost your standards and you know what you're looking for, you've got a more clearer energy output. So therefore you do start to attract more of those that are more suitable for you and who you really, you know, will be compatible with in terms of that way, because you're allowing yourself to have and to know what you're looking for in those certain areas, and you're clear about it.
And I think, you know, with that, I think ultimately, if we're looking at this from a place of sovereignty and self-responsibility, you become more discerning, and as you become more discerning, you will attract a higher standard. Because you're willing to you really look at the people that you're connecting with, and not just the people that you're connecting with, but the person that you are, that you're putting in to those situations, that you're taking out into the world, right? If we go back to what I said earlier, the person that you're consistently taking out on a date is you, right? So you do that check of like, is this the person I want to be taking on a date? Forget about the other person I'm going to meet in half an hour from now. Is this someone that I want to take on a date? Yeah, okay, cool, let's go.
Yeah, no, I love that. So a lot of people, and we hear a lot of horror stories in terms of online dating. It's like the big no. What would you say in regards to online dating? Have you got any tips for my listeners in terms of that?
I've got loads of tips. I've got a whole online course dedicated just purely to online dating, because it does receive a lot of bad press with good reason, and it also is a wonderful opportunity as well. If we just look back on the last year and a bit that we've all lived, where we've all then just had to retreat indoors. The opportunities to meet people organically or at events, whatever our other way of meeting people, were reduced massively. And so here, not just in our love lives, our dating lives, but just look how technology really came to the rescue. All of it. It allowed us to stay in contact with our loved ones. It allowed us to keep working. It allowed us to keep having food delivered to our homes, whatever it is. And so I think we can't look at technology as some kind of evil, because when used well and when harnessed powerfully, it's such an opportunity for us. But what the starting point with online dating is to make sure that you have more control over it than it has control over you. What a lot of people fall into is this trap of, okay, well, it's pinged, let me jump on the app, let me see who's messaged me, let me see who I need to reply to. No, one of the things that I always encourage my clients to do is to have a strategy. People are thinking like, strategy is my love life. It's the one area where I should play fast and loose. Of course, we want elements of that, but anywhere, any part of our life where we want to be successful, some kind of strategy is going to serve us.
Exactly.
So if it's a case of, and I always say, decide it in advance. Don't decide the strategy whilst you're on the app, or once decide it in advance, so you know how you're going to show up. Okay, so I'm going to show up for half an hour every day, or I'm going to show up for half an hour every 2 days. I'm going to take weekends off, or I'm only going to be on the apps on the weekend for half an hour on Saturday and Sunday. Like, decide that in advance, and then make sure you stick to that. So even if that means setting a timer on your phone whilst you're on the app, so you know what you're doing, right? And make sure you're really present with it. So what happens is people will jump on the app whilst they're lying in bed, or they're kind of cooking dinner with one hand and app in the other. No, give it your fullest attention, the same that you would do on a date, on an actual date with someone. And I always say, for those of my clients or anyone that's here listening that wants a more committed long-term relationship, is start to put in the time that you want to dedicate to your future relationships. Start to bring that kind of energy, that kind of intention to your dating life, right? So when you sit down, and I always say, make an event of it. Make an event of showing up to your dating apps or dating sites, because another thing that people feel like, oh my God, okay, I've got to get online again. Right?
A lot of women think that.
And guys as well. I'm really glad that I get to coach both men and women to see it from both sides of the thing. So what I say is, sit down, like, put some of your favorite music on. Maybe you want to put something slow and sensual on. Maybe you want to put your happy tunes on, whatever it is. Lower the lights, put some candles on, spray on your favorite perfume or aftershave or whatever. Show up with that kind of energy, that kind of intention that gets you in that mind frame of, I'm dating, I'm potentially going to meet someone that I find really, really attractive, that I may have loads of compatibility with, that may go on to become my future partner, may go on to become my husband, my wife, my civil partner, the person that I start a family with, whatever it is. So remember to connect to the gravitas of what you're trying to create and bring that energy from the outset, because that's what's missing for a lot of people, is that they disconnect the two sort of destinations, the starting point and the quote unquote end point. And therefore the energy is massively mismatched. but how do you expect to create what you want, what it is that you want, a relationship full of passion and adventure and joy and play, if you can't even be asked to bring that from the outset, right?
Yeah, no, I love that, because so many, and I've spoken to, you know, even a few of my clients, and it's very much, it's work. It's like, oh, you know, another, like maybe another app or another online dating site, and it's like, oh, there's, and especially, I guess a lot, and you know, I've had that experience as well, when you will look and it will be like, oh gosh, you know, is this all I've got to choose from, you know? And we initially go and look at the pictures first. The first and foremost is we look at the pictures instead of looking really in depth at their profile. But what I love about what you said is how you set the time. If you were in a relationship, or if you were actually on a date with someone, you would take that time out to give that full attention to whoever's messaged you, or, and I think that's what's missing. That's the huge thing, is that, as you said, when we're doing stuff, we're like, oh, you know, let's just check this. And it is then eventually we go by the looks, because we're not spending enough time really looking at the person as a whole. Do you think, I mean, do you agree, or do you want to actually shed some light on that?
Yeah, I think, you know, we have to be aware that we're just naturally going to gravitate towards the pictures to begin with, because that's where visual, and of course we're looking to be with someone that we find attractive in lots of different regards. You know, in the same way that they say when you walk into an interview, when you're being interviewed for a job, they make their mind up within the first 30 seconds about who they think you are, right? So okay, so how do we use that to our advantage? So one thing that I always say to my clients is, start in the slightly counterintuitive way. Write your profile first and then choose your pictures, because knowing that people are going to go to your pictures first, you want to make sure that those pictures are an accurate representation of who you are, and they really, really echo what you're saying in the written part of your profile. So write the profile first. Make sure you've articulated well who you are, who you'd love to be with, and what you're hoping to create together. I call it the rule of thirds, right? Have that, and then use that to choose your pictures that articulate what you've said in that. So if you love skiing, make sure you've got some skiing pictures there. If you love beach holidays, make sure you got that, and make sure that you've got a beautiful array of pictures there that really show that person who you are, what you're about, and what kind of lifestyle you lead, so that they don't, even before they go to the written part of your profile, they know who you are. They've got a good feel for who you are, right? And so we want to then be looking at that for us in other people's profiles. Now, this is where we have a tendency to get stuck, is that, and I've had clients and you know, people that have attended my workshops say this, well, no one else is putting this much effort into their profiles, like, so why should I bother? Now, if we all carry that attitude around, then you're not going to step into, if we go back to that standards conversation that we just had a moment ago, we're not going to step up into that higher realm of where actually the people that are willing to put effort into their profiles are hanging out. We're always going to stay just outside of that club.
Exactly.
Right?
And
I always think, you maintain, this is the same thing, don't drop your standards to what everyone else is doing. You maintain that standard, and you will meet people who are at that standard or above as well, right? You're more likely to be exposed to them. So instead of then spending time looking at people's profiles where they've put a crappy bunch of pictures up and they haven't bothered write anything in their profile, and they've just sent you one word message of hi, or hi, how are you? They've not actually put that effort in. Oh, hey sexy, right? We get that a lot.
Going back to social media, DMs as well.
exactly. And if you keep dedicating all your time to responding to these people that aren't putting that effort into their profiles, then you're going to take that time away. Imagine if you've only got 20 half an hour slot that you're dedicating to that day. And if you spend it just consistently wasting time on those people that have a lower standard, you're never going to get to elevate yourself, right? So always stay at that standard that you're hoping to attract and sort of surpass. And be willing, I say this to my clients all the time, be willing to be an ambassador for this stuff. So an ambassador carries that high standard, right? You're flying the flag for, I'm a fearless dater. Like, I'm consciously choosing to date in a higher standard, higher value way, and I'm willing to meet people that are operating in the same space as me. I remember my sister, when she was online dating a while back now, she had a really great online profile, and one of the guys that she went on a date with later, she noticed that he actually used the same profile, like used her profile and just tweaked it a bit to actually then be his, right? And we can have that kind of like, oh my God, that's terrible, but also that's a compliment as well, right? That he enjoyed her profile that much, and he felt it grabbed his attention that much that he realized, well, she's onto something, let me do that as well. Now that's how we get to raise the overall standard. It's like any form of activism. If you're not willing to speak out, buck the trend, then things never change. But if you are willing to be that person that works to have a higher standard profile, something that you're really proud of, the ripple effects of that is beautiful. And that's what it means to be an ambassador of this fearless dating work, that you get to have an impact, and your journey then gets to be meaningful, not just for yourself, but sometimes even people that you don't know. And if that continues to ripple out, how much more of a satisfying, fulfilling, meaningful experience could online dating be for people?
Yeah, that's true. And it almost sounds very similar to if you're thinking about entrepreneurs and business owners, they spend a lot of time building their brand to be able to attract certain clients that they're looking for. And we can spend a lot of time doing that and getting our copywriting and our brand done, but we don't think about doing that for online dating. We don't, as you said earlier, in terms of dating, it almost like we lower our standards a lot of the time instead of actually keeping them up. So that actually is a great point there, in terms of, as you would put the effort into your own brand, if you're a business person, you should put exactly that same effort, maybe even more effort, into your relationships, because that is personal to you. That's, intimate, and it's intimacy. So yeah, you've hit some great points, Arti, and I could talk to you for ages about this stuff.
Absolutely. It's so fascinating, this area of life, hence the reason why I've chosen to make it my work. But there's so much here to be explored, and I think done right, done well, this can be one of the most beautiful, satisfying journeys of our lives, one of the most satisfying, meaningful experiences of our lives. And that's what I found, that it's become, not just for me, but through the clients that fearless dating graduates, who then realize, well, okay, this is about so much more than just dating. This is about so much more than just love. And finally I've shifted my attitude towards it. And ultimately, what I always say with my clients is that there'll come a point where you will look back on your fearless dating journey, whatever path that took, and every moment of it will feel significant and valuable. One of the things that people that are sort of have not chosen to be as conscious about dating, they look back on their dating and life and their relationships with disdain of like, oh, I wasted so much time, and oh, this, like, how terrible was that? Whereas now we get to shift that when you do create whatever it is that you ultimately want to create. And even before that, to be honest, you'll be able to look back on your life and go, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah, there's always I always believe that every step of the way there's always something to have gained from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important. And to be able to get to that point where you can look at it and say, I understand it, like you've just said, that's when you know you've kind of moved that step up in your own personal journey. And yeah, definitely. So I'd like for you to just share one final message to our listeners that you want them to take away. I mean, I'm sure they've taken away so much already, but just that last final message that you want our listeners to take from this.
So I think, I guess at the heart of fearless dating, and so I guess bringing it back to where we started this conversation, is this is about dating on your terms. And I think one of the most frustrating things about dating is that we feel like we've got to do it a certain way because that's the way that it's done and that's how everyone else is doing it. Yeah. But I think it's about now asking yourself, you know, if you're listening to this and you've got a notepad to hand or your phone to hand, just to ask yourself, what does fearless dating mean to me? Like, knowing that fearlessness is the not the absence of fear, but the willingness to interact with it. Okay, so then what does fearless dating mean to me? Just journal on that for a while. Like, what would it look like to date fearlessly? What would it feel like to date fearlessly? And start to use that as a guidepost, a signpost for potentially how you could start to shape your dating life, that how you could start to shift the kind of experiences that you're having, whether you're dating online, at events, wherever you're going with your, you know, the way that you're meeting people. And ultimately, you know, one of my favorite books of all time is a book called Essentialism, and the author talks a lot about it. Creating a life by design, not default, right? So how can you start to design your dating life, your fearless dating life, by design, not by default?
Yeah.
How can you start to inform yourself of the way that you want to date and you want to meet people and you want to create relationships? Just opening the doors to that opens up so much possibility for what comes next for you. And be willing to mess it up as well, because, you know, my dating life was not linear, it was not straightforward, it was not always fun, you know, rainbows and flowers and butterflies the whole time. There were some moments where I felt exactly there was some moments where I felt really down, and I felt like, oh my God, I've made such a fool of myself, or whatever it is. But that is part and parcel of this process. That willingness to pick ourselves up and stay in the room, as I always say to my clients, like willingness to stay in the room and keep plodding on forwards and making that movement forwards with it. You will create something that far surpasses your expectations.
Love it. Thank you so much, Arti. So where can our listeners go to find out more about you and your service?
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram, so I'll be there. That said, this week I'm having a week off because we need that. That's important, right? But otherwise, you'll find me there 5 days a week, sharing coaching tips and advice and all of that on there. So that's at Arti Joshi _ if you want to join me on Instagram. Also, you can just go over to my website, which is www.iamarti.co.uk, where you can find out about fearless dating, the online profile makeover course that we spoke about as well. That's a self-study course that you can do in the comfort of your own home on your own timeline, where I help you totally rework your dating profile, or start it from scratch if you don't have one at all. That's available there, and there's a few webinar replays and things there. So there's lots for you to sink your teeth into. There's the podcast episodes episodes as well, the Fearless Dating podcast. So yeah, there's a lot of resources available there.
Excellent. And I'm sure our listeners will head there. Arti, thank you so much for being my great guest and my first guest of the show. And listeners, head down and check out all of Arti's great work. So thank you, Arti.
Thank you so much, Rita.
And listeners, I will be back. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'm sure you did. But stay tuned for more. Until then, take care. Bye. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, motivation, and of course, inspiration coming up real soon. If you want to email me and send me messages of what you thought of the show or anything you'd love me to cover on the show, please email me at coachRita@swasthialiving.com. Swasthya Living is SwasthyaLiving.com. See you real soon. Bye.